Hello, I'm Mallory, and I put out videos about the raw vegan diet and other alternative health solutions that I've experienced. So if you would like to see more from me, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see what else I get up to and talk about. Today I want to talk about the differences between the starch solution diet and the raw vegan diet. I've experienced both, and I just want to give my firsthand experience. I was on the starch solution diet and I don't even like to say like on this diet. I mean, I just followed this, I learned about and followed this lifestyle that worked really well for me. So, the starch solution, I found out about that after I had my first baby, and I was already almost vegan. I was very interested in veganism for years and years, and the starch solution, just when I found out about it, I was like, whoa, immediately I started trying it, and it just made so much sense to me. And I had a lot of success with it, which leads me into some of the benefits that I experienced. And this is honestly before I even thought about, learned that much about the raw vegan diet. I knew about it for years before. And if you want to hear about my whole story to getting to the raw vegan diet and like the seeds that were planted years before, go check out my very first video. I talked a lot about that. Anyway, so the starch solution, one of the main benefits that I found was that I felt full for the first time, I swear, like in my life. Probably not in my life, but maybe like in my adult life. I think that I really didn't know what it felt like to feel like so satisfied and full. And the starch solution, mostly just like the potatoes, I just remember feeling like, wow, I can eat so much and like get those stretch receptors in my stomach to be stimulated, and I just felt like I knew that I was full, and I just loved that feeling, and I loved like not thinking about food again for at least a couple hours. And so that was the one of the number one ways that the starch solution helped me, was that full feeling and not thinking about, okay, when am I going to eat next? What am I going to eat? And being kind of like obsessed with food. And it also taught me about, speaking of like the stretch receptors in the stomach, I didn't really know about calorie density until I found out about the starch solution. And yeah, a lot of different YouTubers opened my eyes to that, like Plantiful Kiki, Healthy Emmy, and Chef AJ. Yeah, I learned about calorie density, and I feel like as soon as you learn about calorie density, like the whole world of food opens up, and it just I don't know, it just helped me so much. So basically I figured out how like I could eat a lot and feel really satisfied and full, and still lose weight, which leads me into my next way that starch solution helped me. Was I dropped weight so quickly, and I could not believe it. Like I also was breastfeeding at the time, but my legs were so much like thinner than not like in a bad way, kind of like in a weird way because I wasn't used to it, but my legs got like so much thinner than they ever had before. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I loved that light feeling. I loved being thinner than I usually was, because I feel like my whole like adult life I had probably like 10 pounds, probably after college. I think a few years after college. So yeah, so it helped me get rid of that like 10 extra pounds that I was always feeling like I shouldn't have, and like my jeans just fit so much better. I just remember like clothes fitting me better, and I didn't have to worry about like the way that my stomach would feel in jeans, like if it would push on my stomach or like if the top of the jeans would push on my stomach. I used to get really like uncomfortable feeling the way that pants would fit on my stomach. And and then like wondering how a certain shirt is gonna fit because of my stomach. It never was like so big or anything. It just was uncomfortable. So anyway, and I mentioned that I was breastfeeding, and that's another way that the starch solution helped me was with breastfeeding. You know, when I embarked on my first breastfeeding journey with my first baby, I found out that like the most important foods were those complex carbs. So potatoes really just helped me so much. And I ate a ton of Japanese sweet potatoes and just sweet potatoes. I would go to the Asian market and to my health food store and get the potatoes that are like purpley blue inside, and they were so good. And yeah, I used to just pressure cook everything, like pressure cook and oven cook potatoes and steam veggies. And so yeah, I think it helped a lot with breastfeeding and like having a ton and like producing a lot of milk. I think it helped regulate my hormones so that I could produce a lot of milk, but also kept me like hydrated and nourished so that I could produce a lot of milk. So I never had a problem while I was breastfeeding with like making enough milk. If anything, if it dipped, it was because I wasn't pumping enough because I was pumping when I was at work. So, and then another way that the starch solution helped me was that it, like it simplified my life, like my food and like food prep life. Because before that, I didn't have a baby yet, and so I had all this time to spend on recipes. So I would make really healthy food, but they would be like elaborate recipes. And so now, when I found out about the starch solution, I could be like so happy and satisfied with just some Japanese sweet potatoes and some Brussels sprouts. Like I would just be so over the moon about it and not feel like I had to like make an actual recipe. So that was really amazing for me. I literally like would not even put any seasoning or sauce on it. And that was one thing too. I realized that like I needed to train my brain to really like those foods without any seasoning, and it was like really quick. I took like no time for me to train my brain in that way. So that was really nice. Another way that the starch solution helped me is that it taught me that I didn't want to consume oil. So that was actually when I started being aware of oil and why not to eat it. And so I'm really thankful that I learned that from the starch solution people on YouTube, who so graciously give a lot of really good information. And yeah, so I remember before when I would watch some like vegan recipe videos, and the people would be like, I don't know why everybody's worried about oil, but I use oil. And I'd be like, yeah, me too. Like, I don't know why people are worried about oil. And now I'm like, oh my God, like I still eat oil. Sometimes I'm not overly cautious about it if I'm like out, but at a restaurant, I'm still kind of like, ooh, like I still make my decisions based on like how much oil I think is going to be in like a dressing or a dip or something. But yeah, but I'm like totally aware of it, and the starch solution is how I learned about that. And the raw vegan folks feel the same way about oil. So yeah. And I just associate oil with dementia because it is proven to be associated with cognitive decline. So, just in case you're wondering. So that's my big motivator to to at least limit, very, very much limit the amount of oil that I consume. Okay, so then I moved on to the raw vegan diet, which I honestly like had no idea when I was doing the starch solution thing. I thought that I would just do that until I died. Like I was like, this is it. This is amazing. And that was a really helpful like big stepping stone for me. But I'm really thankful that I found out about the raw vegan diet and like just kept, progressing to that. So yeah, so the compared to the starch solution diet, the raw vegan diet honestly was like I mentioned that the starch solution simplified things for me. Yeah, like prepping food was really simple, but it still took time, you know, like I still had to ahead of time like put the things in the oven like the night before so that potatoes could bake for an hour, or I still had to like prep a little lentil soup, or you know, steam my veggies. Like I still had to, there was still literally cooking time. And then when I figured out about the raw vegan diet, I would just wash grapes and like bring them to work. Or I would just like grab a bunch of bananas and bring them to work. It was so easy, and it was like laughable how easy it was for me to be healthy and be so busy and like spend no time prepping food, just a little bit of time buying food, which is easy to do like on the weekends or really quick on the way home from work. So, and kind of fun too. I feel like buying food is a little bit more fun than prepping food. Anybody else? Um, so, yeah. So, no cooking, just planning and like cutting basically and washing. So, um, so another way that the raw vegan diet for me was better than the starch solution was that it brought me more into my spirituality and like more mental clarity and more vibrancy, more energy. And I know these words sound kind of vague if you haven't experienced it, but honestly, like when you experience it, they're super important. To have like way more energy than you did before, way more mental clarity, way more happiness and joy and like presence, and um, more attention, just natural attention as you're going about it, your day, into like the spiritual realm. So, yeah, I definitely would rather do the raw vegan diet and have that part of it. The starch solution diet, I think maybe was like opening some doors to that, but I don't think but it's not to that level, for me personally. And then another thing that is really cool with the raw vegan diet compared to the starch solution diet is that I just don't feel hungry like ever. It's so hard to explain. When I was on the starch solution diet, I would still like, you know, 4 hours would go by, and then all of a sudden I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I need my, you know, potatoes and steamed veggies, which I always had on me. Like I didn't ever microwave them, or like I just like ate them at room temperature. I would just keep them in my bag all day long. Sometimes I would put them in the fridge, but they would just, yeah. Anyway, I but I now, so I would still like get that really hungry feeling where I'm like, oh my God, I have to eat right now, when I was on the starch solution diet. Maybe some of it was breastfeeding. And then also I was pregnant for a little bit of it. While I was pregnant, I definitely strayed from the starch solution a little bit. So then when I was on the raw vegan diet, now I like am waiting for myself to feel hungry. And it's actually something that I'm struggling with now, like trying to figure out when I'm even hungry. And like maybe I'm just not hungry. I don't know. I wonder if I just have way more nutrients in me that my body is just never gonna be like, you know, give me some food, because I just never feel like that. And that's something I'm working on, is like waiting to see like when I should even eat, because yeah, I just don't ever get that like aching, like gotta eat now feeling anymore, which is so cool to feel. And I guess my body is just like flooded with nutrients, so it's just always like, no, I'm good, you know, like but I feel like I'm just like, well, I'll eat because I know I'm supposed to, and I don't want to I don't want to like get too low in calories one day and then the next day like eat too much, you know. So I try to just eat anyway, even though I don't feel super hungry, just to stay balanced and to like feel good the next day. So yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. I just don't get a really big hunger feeling when I'm on the raw vegan diet. It's very different now. So hard to explain, but moving on. Thanks so much for watching my video, and please stay tuned for more. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed hearing about the starch solution versus the raw vegan diet.